Artificial amateurs aren't at all amazing. Analytically, I assault and animate things. Broken barriers bounded by the bomb beat. Buildings are broken, basically I'm bombarding. Casually, create catastrophes, casualties. Canceling cats, got the canopies collapsing. Detonate a diamond, dank, Galen doing dough. Demonstrations, Don Dada on the down low. Eating other editors, preaching every energetic, epileptic episode, elevated etiquette. Furious, fat, fabulous, fantastic. Flurries of funk felt feeding the fanatics. Gift God, great, global goods gone glorious. Getting godly in his game with the glorious. Hit him high, hella high, historical. Hey, Holocaust, since hear him holler at your homeboy. Imitators idolize, I intimidate in an instant. All rise in an outrage state. Juice summer jams like Derek Curls, dropping joints, just leaves, just me writing my journals. Kindly I'm kindling all kinds of ink on. Karate kick, type Brits in my kingdom. Let me live a long life, lyrically lessons that learn, lane lost to just lose to my livery. My mind makes marvelous moves masses. Marvel and move, many mock what I masters. Newbie snack, knowing I'm nice naturally. Knack never lack, make noise nationally. Operation opposition off, not optional. Out of sight, out of mind, wide beaming opticals. Perfect poem, powerful punchlines. Pummeling, petty powder puffs in my prime. Quite quaint quotes, keep quantum as quantum. Cordkillers ain't got a quarter of a we got it. Really raw raps, rising up rapidly, riding the rushing radioactivity. Super scientifical sound search thought. Silencing super fire straps that are soft. Tail 10 times talented, too tough. Take that, challengers, get a tune up. Universal, unique, untouched, unadulterated, the raw, uncut. Verb by floor, victorious, valid. Violate vibes out of vein, make advantage. While I'm all well, what a wise worth midgets. Weaving up words, weeded up on my worship. Xerox, max radiation, holes, extra large, X-type letters, and xylophone tones. Yellowback, yak, not the young ones, y'alls. Yesterday's on yard sale, ion. Zigzag zombie, zoom into the zenith. 10 thoughts overzealous, wrong.
No! We're not gonna beat this lady, go!
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you can figure out the best way for you to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on whatever device you want. I'm not that lady who was rapping.
Yeah, man, neither am I. Turns out that both of us together couldn't possibly be as talented as this stereotypical Kansas-born, white bread, on-location
Reporting
reporter.
from the hair salon. The nail salon, rather.
Rocking some Blackalicious. Yeah, no, it was amazing. I love this stuff that appears to be like in the background that somebody at some point decides to leak to the internet. By the way, I'm Brian Brushwood.
Oh, right. You are Brian Brushwood. And hey,
damn straight I am.
This is our 51st episode. We have more
like,
episodes of Cordkillers than there are states in the United States of America.
Hold on. Well, let's not do a disservice to Puerto Rico.
It's not a state.
It's pretty much a state, right? Can we just
but
agree?
Not a state. I mean, if you're going to, then you got to count the District of Columbia.
Welcome to the Puerto Rico episode of Cordkillers.
It is.
Celebrating
it is
almost
the best
1 year.
non-state in the union. It's just being Brian. You got nothing to do. It's the Monday between Christmas and New Year's Day. So why not spend it with us?
Man, can I tell you how great it is to have a whole week where like the whole country is just like, whatevs. This is the whatevs week for America.
It's funny because usually what happens is as I'm preparing for Daily Tech News Show every day, I throw a couple of stories in the Cordkillers lineup. So Brian went to the Cordkillers lineup this morning and there was one story.
And I wrote on there, oh, gee, is this all we have to talk about? I don't know that we could get an hour out of this.
But there was more because thankfully Sony released the interview on December 24th, and that is our primary target.
Oh, my. Well, let's talk about it.
So doing their about face, as we knew they were going to, or knew they were trying to.
Or at least we hoped would be
Sony
the case.
decided to release the interview into willing theaters on December 25th. So that leaked first, actually. It was the Alamo Drafthouse in Dallas, not the one in Austin, that talked about that. And then it went to a lot of different theaters around. But they also released it online on December 24th via Microsoft Xbox Live, if you could get it, because there was an unrelated DDoS attack happening against Xbox Live, as well as Google through the Google Play Store or the YouTube Store. And Sony had their own website, seetheinterview.com. This was US and Canada only. They released it into iTunes Sunday, December 28th, which my guess is that had more to do with Apple saying, we're not going to rush for you, Sony. We'll get it in the system when it gets in the system. It brought in $15 million in the first 4 days online, $2 million in the theaters, $2.8 million in the theaters. There are only 331 theaters that showed it, though.
Man, so many different aspects to talk about this. First of all, let's talk about the DDoS attack on Xbox and how it affected access to our content. I got a PS4 for Christmas for myself. That Bonnie was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, "I don't know, give me a PS4." She's like, "All right, I'm buying you a PS4." I was like, "Great, it'll be a big surprise." And then I got it. I'm like, "Hey, it's a PS4." I couldn't access some of the digital downloaded content on there, and it occurred to me that just like our grandparents or our parents remember the power going out once a week, and we remembered as children the cable going out once a week. This is what we're experiencing. We have now hit a level where we never expect the power to go out. We never expect cable to go out. And we do expect from time to time our internet services to go out, like especially to Xbox and the PlayStation Network. I'm kind of excited that we've hit this level, and I look forward to 10 years from now when even that will be a memory. However, I do want to speak to first of all, how did you watch the interview?
I bought it immediately on Google Play, downloaded it to my Nexus 7 just in case Google got DDoSed. So I'd have at least one local copy that I could send somewhere or pull off of there somehow. And it ended up, it wasn't DDoSed. And so when we actually sat down to watch it, I went to Apple TV, actually, pulled it up in YouTube, because if you buy a movie on Google Play, you can access it through YouTube, and watched it there.
So I'm going to say, I'm just going to call it like, there's a lot of losers in this whole situation. Obviously, the reputation of North Korea is a loser because they're being pegged as the bad guys in this. Sony is a loser because they're being pegged as the incompetents who are dealing with this. Even the interview is a loser because the critics are savaging it. The one party that I could say is absolutely coming out smelling like a rose and is 100% a winner is Google Play. I have never bought a movie on Google Play until this movie, and I've never experienced their system. Google knew that they were about to have a big audition to a lot of people. They knew they would get it before Apple. They knew that they would be the way that most people experienced the interview, and they killed it. Everything worked 100%. I went to Google Play, and it's like they didn't even ask. They were like, "We know why you're here. You ready for the interview? Just click on this button. Use your Google Wallet. Already have your credit card in there. Ready to go." Starts playing instantly, and it starts playing like within seconds, low res, then ramps up to high res, HD. And here's the one thing I did not know about Google Play. The fact that when you press pause, it automatically circles all the faces on screen, tells you who the actor is, what character they're playing, gives you links to the other movies they've done. Also in the lower right-hand corner says what music is playing in the background. You were
watching it in a browser, I take it.
Yes. No. Yeah. That's the way I do all this stuff. Is that not the case? Google Play doesn't do that on other devices?
No.
Well, that's too bad. This is one of the few cases, because what's funny is I know I'm the oddball because I watch Netflix in a browser. I watch Amazon in a browser.
So you didn't watch it with anybody else?
No, I watched it with Bonnie. Yeah, we watched it together.
So you watch it on the laptop screen, or you plug the browser?
Laptop. Come on, look. You know me. I've got in my office downstairs. I have a 37-inch high 1080p screen, and I have like a couch in my office. That's my little mini theater. Office, because again, I have kids. I need an isolated place. Like I can't watch Marco Polo with all the boobs flopping around and the kung fu tits, where the kids can see it. What would I do if my kids knew that kung fu tits exist, Tom? Come on.
They're going to have to learn at the proper time, but now is not that time.
Yes.
No, I know what you mean. Okay, so first of all, none of this I had a totally opposite situation from you.
Really?
I purchased plenty of times on Google Play. Nothing about the way Google Play works surprised me. I watched it on the Apple TV, so I didn't get any of those little bonus extras that they put in the browser, and my Google Wallet didn't work.
Oh, okay.
Because every time I go to use Google Wallet, I haven't used it in so long that the credit card in there has expired.
That's fine. And before you savage my experience and take away from me what I thought was so special, there were several moments that I thought were really awesome. First of all, I realized that there is a flaw in the second screen experience. Everything we've been talking about on the show, the idea that somebody will have something in their lap or whatever, the very nature of looking something up, typing in an actor's name or whatever while the movie's on means you're missing the movie. movie. However, like Google Play has figured out, at least in the browser experience, has figured out a natural. I press pause, I hit spacebar, everything stops, and it instantly, as if it knew why I was pausing, tells me everything I need to know. There was a moment in the interview that I'm like, man, I feel like I know that song. Hold on, let me look it up. And I press pause, and then as if it was reading my mind, it was like, oh yeah, you want to know what that song is? It's I'm Afraid of Americans by Trent Reznor and David Bowie. I was like, yes, you got it. Magic mind reading browser window, and then I hit play again.
Google, that's Google saying, hey, we're Google. We're good at this. We do Google now. Let's put it into the video. And I wish it was easier for them to do that in the box interfaces. I understand why, Apple TV, it took them 7 years to update their freaking app. So they're not going to be able to put all the features and bells and whistles in there that they want.
Sure.
But, I am platform agnostic. I've bought Google Play movies before, mostly to test a new feature they added or because it was free. Like they give away free movies earlier in December. They were giving away Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring for free. So you're right about the fact that Google definitely is trying to get people into their store to show them, hey, this store works. It works really well. We're Google. We do cool extra things in some cases. And having the interview be part of that was one of them. What do you think, to broaden it out philosophically, of the idea people are saying, gosh, it made $15 million on a day-and-date release, and it only made $2.8 million in the theaters. I don't think it's a fair test.
I agree.
To compare it to the theaters when you only had 331 theaters.
Well, it's not a fair test for two reasons. The first of which is, of course, the fact that it was only in 300 plus theaters. The second of which is obviously these are extraordinary conditions to release a movie, right? And we're also comparing it to what it would have made had it done a traditional release.
I'll be honest, I was a little surprised it was only 15 million.
I was too, to be honest, especially since it was sort of a rallying cry. Like there was USA Today articles talking about like how patriotic, like they, before the movie, they had somebody sing "God Bless America," and people were like, "Yeah, we want jokes about shoving stuff in your butt for America."
For America, yeah. I mean, part of it is, what was this thing, like $2.99 for the rental, $12.99 for purchase?
I think it was. I think I paid $5 on
$5 for the rental
the rental on Google Play. And by the way,
all of that.
This is the other thing. Keep in mind all of those bonuses, all of those special features, the pausing and finding out all of the stuff and the special features built into the rental, which I thought was wonderful. Loved it.
2 people watched it. That would have cost you $20 to go to a theater.
Right?
Oh,
sure.
So you just cut the price that Sony got to charge for that. We watched it. There were 5 of us. Like, it was the family thing. We all sat down and watched the interview.
Did you rent it or buy it?
We bought it. I decided just to buy it because I wanted to have the thing, and I actually kind of wanted to support it in that way. Still, $12.99. That's one movie ticket.
Yeah.
In LA, and we got 5 people. So I think that's part of the 15 million being lower than I expected. And like you say, this is a ridiculous comparison because of the cultural nature. I think it is an interesting test case that people will look at and say, like, all right, well, this was the #1 selling, movie for its time period online. It was definitely the top YouTube video for a period of time there.
So
did you enjoy it?
Well, I assume we'll save that for spoiler in time. We'll talk about the actual content. Long story short, I liked it a lot for what it set out to be. I did not expect. I accepted. How can I put this? I expected it to be a skeleton weak scaffolding on which to hang 5 or 6 gut-busting laughter moments. And I got exactly that. I thought it was great in that regard.
You know what's so funny? It's pretty much exactly my assessment of it.
Yeah, which
like
is fine. If you go in expecting that.
Of a movie to hang 5 or 6 funny moments on. I'm
not gonna lie, and again, we'll save it for spoiler in time. But it's
we'll save the rest for spoiler.
The biting moments I found hilarious. The back and forth, where it just kept escalating and going.
So anyway, I think this is an important mile marker. Well, I like to talk about the mile markers along the road to the internet television revolution, where we finally drag the TV and movie industries kicking and screaming into using all of the capabilities that are at their disposal, thanks to the advance of technology. And I think this is one of those. It's a horrible reason why. It's not the way it should have been done, but now there is a test case there, as flawed as it is, for people to go, well, but if you look at this part of it, that might be an interesting way to release a movie in the future. I think there's going to be a lot of people looking at the numbers.
Man, I tell you what, I hope this thing makes so much freaking money just because we don't like how we got here. But let's face it, this is far and away the best day and date release we've ever seen. This isn't Tower Heist coming out for $40 day and date. This is whether you're a fan of Seth Rogen or not, whether you're a fan of James Franco or not, this is a significant, decent comedy flick that is released the day of. This is huge. If you care, just go out and buy it, and you can hate the movie later or rent the movie. Just do something. Like, contribute to this experiment if you're watching this show.
And save a little for us, though.
No. Well, I mean, do we really need? I mean, we're freaking rich, right? We got I don't know.
It depends on what you're comparing it to.
If you want to throw some
compared to me living in Austin 1998, yeah, we're rich.
1968, 1,968 bosses is who we have contributing over $2,000 at Cordkillers. That's patreon.com/Cordkillers. We cannot thank you guys enough for keeping us loud, live, and independent. And we love being able to not owe anybody anything because you're giving value for value, people.
Yeah, we make the show. If you're getting a little value out of the show and you'd like the show to continue, give what you think it's worth back to us. That's the proposition. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. And we thank every single one of you.
Coming up on 1 year, Tom. Happen. 1 year we've been making this happen, and they've been keeping us alive. We can't thank you guys enough.
Absolutely. All right, let's check our signals intelligence reports.
Shall we?
Yes.
Okay, we shall. It's happening.
Right here. Signal intelligence reports.
Oh, good. It just came off the teletype? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So signals intelligence, if you don't know, is the segment of the show where we talk about streaming services. And this is the time of the year when we get the here's what's coming to Netflix. Like, this has now become a tradition of, okay, these movies are going away January 1st because their year-long engagement is over, and these movies are coming to Netflix.
By the way, most of these stories that I saw were led with what's coming in and then also said, by the way, these are going away. Can we reverse it? Because to me, like, the real news is you're about to lose the ability to see these shows. Watch them while you still can, right?
Almost all the ones that I saw said this is what's leaving Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That includes amazing movies like Backdraft, Bad Boys, The Breakfast Club, Happy Gilmore, you better hurry up and watch that. Hitch, Love Actually, The Mighty Ducks, My Girl, The Parent Trap, Rocky, Saved, and Spaceballs. Go watch Spaceballs right now.
There's a lot more, too. Ayaz Akhtar over at CNET, I want to give props to because he did both leaving Netflix and coming to Netflix in the same story, but also did Amazon Prime as well.
That's great.
He doesn't have what's leaving Amazon Prime, but he has what's coming.
I did not realize this was an Ayaz Akhtar story. How wonderful to see him over there hustling. That's great.
Beverly Hills Cop 2 coming to Amazon Prime. But he only had the short list of leaving Netflix, which is not unusual. A lot of the stories I saw only had the short list. I think what they were pulling is like the popular ones.
Sure.
Because if you go to Vulture, Journey to Fearless.
Okay, sorry, you froze there for a second. We heard head to vulture.com, and then we heard Journey to Fearless.
Yeah, Taylor Swift Journey to Fearless leaving Netflix.
What a shame.
I know, right? Sweet Life of Zach and Cody seasons 1 to 4 leaving.
Actually, don't dismiss that because I guarantee you I'm gonna have the kids. They got 3 days.
The Parent Trap leaving Netflix.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
The Wedding Planner leaving. You've Got Girl 2. All of these are leaving Netflix by January 1st. I don't know. This is interesting to me because I wonder, I mean, there's movies getting added and leaving Netflix all year long. It's not like January 1st is the big day or is the only day. But I guess it's the biggest day because a lot of them sign up for like January 1st through December 31st engagements.
You know what's funny is like back in the HBO days, we never paid attention to what movies were leaving HBO. It's like we knew that it was kind of this constantly
In
shifting
the really
thing.
early days, I would know like, oh, this one's on this month, so I've got to watch it this month, right?
Sure.
It's
Or
the closest I could
but
think
even then,
of.
I feel like HBO was always focused on, or at least I was always focused on what's coming into HBO. I never paid attention to what's leaving HBO.
I guess what I'm saying is like we would get the HBO guide. It was a little printed guide from our cable.
Yes.
And it would show like every month, like here are the movies out this month and here are the days they're playing. And so I'd focus on like, okay, I've got to watch it on one of those days. But there was never a list of like, and now these movies are gone, right? There was never that like, oh, the month's almost over. You only got 2 more days.
Let's talk about what's coming to Netflix. We got 101 Dalmatians, Bad Boys 2. So long, Bad Boys. Welcome, Bad Boys 2. Bruce Almighty, Castaway, Dallas Season 3. Wait, Dallas Season 3 from 2012. They did Dallas again?
I don't know what that means.
All right. Election, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, French Connection, Friends, the complete series, Fort Bliss, Mean Girls, Shall We Dance, To Be Takei, which I assume is George Takei, Wayne's World 2, and then a bunch of new stuff coming in January.
Well, yeah, and then it goes back to its normal thing where stuff trickles in constantly throughout the year.
Speaking of which, January 16th,
Castaway,
The Adventures of Puss in Boots Season 1, which is a Netflix original, so we're going to be seeing more original kids programming coming in.
Moonstruck's coming to Amazon Prime, though. I think I'm in. But if it's...
By the way, I do love that. What does it say about Amazon Prime that it merits showing up in this kind of article where it's like notice who's not there? Hulu. Hulu somehow slipped from being second place obvious to now they're the RC Cola of this bunch.
Hulu is now suffering a perception issue, which is, Hulu's the place where I go to watch the shows I missed on TV.
Yes.
Right?
Which by the way, they fully embraced.
Here's a place with movies and TV shows that I will binge on past seasons of.
They fully embraced that role, and now they're dealing with the unfortunate fallout of having gotten everything they wanted from that.
And they are definitely a place to binge on TV shows. Like they have, if you're paying as a Hulu Plus member, it's one of the few reasons that I could think of to pay to be a Hulu Plus member is that they have now made it a sensible, like, yeah, you pay, you get more back seasons. And so if there's certain series that you really want to catch up on, that makes sense.
Absolutely. Hey man, shall we move on to gearing up?
Were you going to suggest that we gear up?
I was going to say, you know what? I didn't want to be weird about it, but it's like, let's gear up.
I think it's a good idea. This is another one of those 4K coming to TV stories. And I don't put these in the lineup so much as like, hey, everybody's so excited about 4K TVs, as to just sort of let you know out there that the developments are continuing to happen. Vizio was one of the early popularizers of affordable HD TVs, and they are doing the same with 4K TVs. Their P series is getting a bunch of new apps built in. Now, granted, we can all sit here and debate all day long whether apps built into a television is the right way to go or not. But for 4K, with a 4K TV, that's probably going to be the way it's available for a while anyway. And so the new 4K apps coming to the P series are an Amazon app with 4K support for the few shows they have, 4K Ultraflix and Toon goggles. Yeah, I know. And they already have, if you didn't know, Plex, Spotify, and the 4K Netflix app.
I'm actually really stoked that you made this one of our stories because I'm going through a bit of a 4K identity crisis, I guess. So like at the end of the year is usually when I noticed how many reward dollars I have to spend on our MasterCard or whatever. And it's like, usually I'll buy like a monitor or a hard drive or something. But then I was looking, I was like, well, if I'm going to spend it, what should I get? Should I get what occurred to me that I wanted was some kind of like 4K display to use as a monitor, because we've talked about this on the show before, but I asked and nobody really had a direct answer as far as like what's a single good high-resolution display that's technically a television that will work really well for a main display. I was really disappointed. Like have you bought a 4K anything? Are you thinking about doing it this year or no?
No, I'm not. No, I have not bought a 4K TV. I am thinking about it. I still think the possibilities are slim because the TV I have works great, and I don't see a lot of 4K stuff out there. But there is a part of me who says, well, maybe I should, just so that I can try this stuff out and talk about it ahead of time. But I certainly wouldn't do it because of my consumer side of my brain. I would do it for my podcast host side of my brain.
Which is exactly where I am.
It's way too early for anyone but early adopters who are just really enthusiastic about trying stuff out in 4K, I think, to buy this stuff.
Well, especially for like content watching. For video content watching, it does not make sense to me. I don't understand why anybody would get a 4K display just to watch 4K video. I think that's ridiculous and stupid. However, you know, it being somebody who has as their primary display a 1080p display, having 4 of those for my desktop, being able to, you know, look at a lot more pixels and move a lot more stuff around, I would be so very down for that. And unfortunately, it sounds like nothing. From what I've heard, most of them are 30 hertz. Which is just painful to look at. From what I've heard, there are 60 hertz displays, but even then, you know, now you have the issue of like, does your video card push enough pixels to do that? So we look for, in fact, actually, if any of you guys have advice about transitioning to using a 4K display as your primary video display device on your computer, please hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com.
But for the Cordkillers who are like, should I get 4K?
No,
only if you are just really excited about it. There's nothing. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with buying 4K if you can afford it and you want to try it, because
I think
you're just a hobbyist.
I think you're a dirty, filthy infidel if you
Ryan
do.
will come to your house and
terrible idea. Don't do it.
I think you should be free to try it out if you want to. But if you're like, is it ready yet? No, I totally agree with you there. Like this is early days. I'm trying to figure out, like, I feel like this is about 2003, maybe 2002 in the HD cycle, where there's very little programming available, and the TVs actually are probably a little more affordable now than the HD TVs of that era were.
Sure.
But the TVs are also not quite standardized yet. There's a lot of TVs that aren't, you know, there's TVs that have the chips that play the wrong codec, and so not all the 4K stuff works on them. And like you're talking about with the hertz issues, refresh issues, things like that, I feel like we're maybe a year, I guess we'll see at CES, maybe a year, maybe 2.
No, I think you're right.
Becoming the first wave where I'm like, okay, early adopters now, you've got some programming to watch.
Yeah, it's right on the cusp. And keep in mind,
getting a little bit of programming that you could watch.
I mean, I am very much an early adopter on this stuff. Here in the studio, we have 2 1080p displays from Westinghouse that I got for $9.99 each.
That's for your studio, though, right? We're talking. I mean, talking to people who just want to watch TV. That's even farther.
But that's my point. Is that these guys had a good run. Now one of them, it's like half of it is burned in. It's got like right now I'm looking at you. Look like you have a weird scar across your face that's all discolored because they're old, but they function, and now they're good enough to use in a work environment, but I would never have this as my primary display 10 years later. It's pretty much a dead monitor that we're just using because it still barely functions.
I think JC Calhoun nailed it. The 30 hertz displays for 4K are, he says, just ripping people off. Like when the first HD TVs didn't have tuners in them. That's right. About 2002, 2003, you'd buy an HD TV and there'd be no tuner. And it'd be like, oh, so there's no HD broadcast. There's no HD on a lot of the cable services. And now I don't even have a tuner for when there is broadcast. Forget it.
I mean, but I don't know. I'm gonna be a little bit sideways on that because you know me. It's like I don't care. I only want my monitors to do one thing, and that's, you know, display.
Well, but I'm talking. He's talking about the HD TVs back in 2002.
Sure. Yeah, no. But even then, back in those days, it's like, well, I don't know, whatever. I'm on the fringes. Hey man, where can people go to figure out a way to throw money in your face?
Well, my address is I live in Los Angeles. You can find me.
Just turn left on the Santa Ana
Brett,
freeway.
The guy who used to do the end cards for the Sword and Laser videos on Geek and Sundry, ran into me at the grocery store today. So
and did he hand you a $5 bill and say thank you for your service?
He didn't. But that's okay. I didn't expect him to.
All right.
No, TomMarronBooks.com. I guess that's what I'll throw out there. I have books that I've written. Some of them are okay. The nonfiction ones are actually much better. The Year in Tech History is illustrated by Scott Johnson. That is a book of every day in the year with what happened on that day in tech history, usually at least 3. items that happen, sometimes more. And it's got illustrations from Scott. But I also have tried my hand at a young adult novel about dogs solving crimes, science fiction retelling of the Arthurian legend called Lot Beta. All that stuff's there at TomAirtBooks.com.
When did the Year in Tech History come out?
It came out just at the end of November.
Okay, so because I know that you had been releasing these little, mini PDFs
Right.
of the month at a time, but like this is the entire year.
Yeah, this is all of the work that we did for those monthly Kindle singles now went into creating an even bigger and better year, which actually has things that weren't in the Kindle singles because we updated things and corrected some mistakes and stuff. And it has all of Scott's illustrations in there.
Right on, man. Congratulations on getting that done. That's very cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was a lot of fun to do.
Shall we?
Front lines?
Yeah, that's what I was
right.
thinking. I want to say. I want to be weird about it.
Yeah, no, I was right there with you.
Hey, man, you remember Aereo? Little
I remember
company
Aereo.
rebroadcasting some other people's content illegally, according to the Supreme Court. Aereo is auctioning its technology as part of its bankruptcy. Broadcasters can veto any sale. There are 17 potential bidders for the tech, with bids expected on February 20th. Now, walk me through the part where the broadcasters, the people who shut down Aereo, can also, because it seems fair, shut down the sale of Aereo's equipment.
Well, because the technology was essential to the case that determined that Aereo was violating the law. The broadcasters get to come in and say, hold on a minute. You can't just sell that to, I don't know, Alki David, who's going to go and break the law with it.
Wouldn't that be great if Alki David bought it? It was just
right? So I think they have a legitimate claim. Let's leave aside what we think of the decision. If the Supreme Court said that technology is being used illegally, then the broadcasters get to go to the bankruptcy court and go, hey, wait a minute, that was determined in a court of law to be used illegally. So when they sell it, we should be able to say whether we think the person's going to use it legally or not.
I would like to think that the person who buys it is like one billionaire. It's like Mark Cuban or something, who just sits there. He's like, hey, man, I just want to get my HD programming as clear as can be. So I got 800 antennas that make sure
I've got
it
an
comes
individual antenna for me and all my family, the world.
Absolutely.
Popcorntime.io has added an optional VPN service to its desktop app run by VPN.ht. VPN.ht sells their VPN service for $4.99 a month, and Popcorn Time users can get it for $1 for the first month, or prepay for a year at $3.99 a month, which ends up being just below $48.
So, okay, this is a little bit weird because usually what happens when you have a vehicle that makes piracy simple, you usually see it get broken down the moment money gets involved. In this case, the money involved doesn't necessarily get you the illegal content, but it does get you sanitized access to it through the VPN, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Popcorn Time says all we're doing is providing a search service, right? That's how they're trying to justify. And they've been shut down a couple times and like a gopher popped up elsewhere.
By the way, I'll take an extension on this. Keep going.
But they've never actually charged for any of it. All they're doing from their perspective is saying, hey, let's do an affiliate program because a lot of people who use torrents want to also use a VPN service. There's nothing illegal about a VPN service, although it can be used to protect yourself from people seeing that you're doing illegal things, perhaps. And so the VPN service is like, hey, we're a VPN service. We sell VPN to all comers. We'll build it in to your client. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. And then we'll charge, and we'll probably kick back a little bit to Popcorn Time. We don't know if Popcorn Time's getting a kickback. Maybe they're not. Maybe this is just doing a solid VPN.ht.
Yeah, I find that unlikely.
None of the individual elements of any of this chain are illegal or necessarily bad. But when you package them all together, the purpose that people are using them for is to pirate television shows and movies, watch them without being detected by the enforcement agencies that are out there trying to stop.
All right, so we have 10 seconds real quick. How long do you give until this gets shut down by the man?
I don't think it will.
What?
I don't think this changes anything.
Interesting. Hey, man, Sci-Fi is doing a little show called 12 Monkeys. You ever hear of it? It's coming out on January 16th. Includes a light track that controls Philips Hue's light bulbs. as you watch using the Sci-Fi Sync app. By the way, right here in studio, all of these lights are all Philips hues, so that theoretically we can watch it in real time. You can watch them, I don't know, flicker scarily when the monkeys
the
come for
colors
you.
change to fit the color temperature of the scene you're watching.
That's cool, but holy cow, that's a lot of work to go into exactly 7 people seeing the benefit of it.
But those 7 people are going to get to see the colors change.
I mean, look, nobody loves my Philips Hues more than me. I totally dig them. I just don't know, like, watch our show because your light bulbs will change colors. That's a weird way to sell it.
That's why everybody buys all those Ambilight TVs. Oh, wait.
All right. And moving on, Tom.
Mike Firth has reordered all the scenes from all the Marvel movies in the Avengers universe, into chronological order. He ended up with a 12-hour, 15-minute cut of all the Phase 1 movies. He even used selected scenes from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to fill in the gaps. And he has instructions up in a 12-minute video about what scenes go where.
Wait, just so we're clear, this is a 12-minute video that instructs you how to watch the next 12 hours of videos.
Yes.
That's pretty rad. I'm not going to lie. And especially being somebody who guided my my 10-year-old daughter through the first take of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm really stoked. I actually think this would be a lot of fun for her.
Yeah, I would love to watch it. I don't know if I would go to the trouble of assembling it myself, though.
Well,
I don't know if it means that much to me to
wait,
spend
hold
the time.
on. So what he's saying is, like, he gives you he gives you instructions on assembling this cut for yourself.
Yeah, it basically tells you it's this movie or this episode from this time code to this time code. Then,
dude,
go to
just
this episode or movie from this time code to this time.
Going straight to the Pirate Bay on this one. I want to see this stuff assembled by somebody and put out there for me.
Yeah, use your VPN. Let's see what's under surveillance.
Popcorntime.io. Under surveillance.
It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
This is the only story Brian saw in the lineup this morning. Netflix reportedly buying Pee Wee Herman movie after it was dropped by Universal. Shooting scheduled to start in 2015.
Smart buy. I think that regardless of the quality of it, I think that Pee Wee Herman has tremendous brand value, especially for the anyone over 30. I think it's smart. I think it's good. I think Paul Rubens is gonna do really well. I don't know if it'll be a good show, but I think it's a smart buy for Netflix.
Well, and it just reemphasizes something we've talked about before on Cordkillers, which is what internet TV is being forced to do because the major studios and broadcasters are not moving into the space fast enough, is become a harbor for quality and a harbor for niche. And maybe this is more niche than quality. You can argue that out amongst yourselves. But what HBO and Showtime did to television in the 90s, Netflix and Amazon are doing to television now, which is, oh, you don't want that thing that a lot of people really want? We'll do it.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Is that cable came in and filled in the cracks between the big 3, eventually 4 broadcast networks. And likewise, we're seeing the same thing with Netflix and Amazon. They're doing the exact same play, right?
Yeah, well, it was cable broadly, right? And then it was HBO and Showtime doing it to cable. And then it was AMC doing it to HBO and Showtime. And now it's Netflix and Amazon Prime. It just goes to show, like, if you don't move fast enough, there's always somebody else willing to come in and pick up the slack.
Yes, no, makes total sense. Hey, man, what are you watching these days?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We mentioned the interview, obviously.
Yep, we'll talk about that in spoiler in time.
Doctor Who Christmas special, which was probably one of the better ones. It was a substantive Christmas special with the Doctor and his current companion, which doesn't always happen. A lot of time the Christmas special happens between companions, and so you get, like, I don't know, Kylie Minogue, for instance, one time guest starring. Had Nick Frost as Santa Claus, which that alone is probably worth watching it, even if you don't like Doctor Who.
I would like to say that you, for those audio watchers, if you're wondering, Tom Merritt definitely said all of that with a straight face.
What?
When you mentioned who plays Santa Claus in a Doctor Who episode, totally
like Nick
totally
Frost?
normal.
Wait, do you not like Nick Frost?
No, I'm just saying it's a bit weird that Santa Claus is a real character in the show. That doesn't strike you as a bit odd?
As a longtime Doctor Who viewer, no. Honestly, didn't even cross my mind that was odd. I
love the fact that you were like annoyed, like, what's wrong with Nick Frost, bro? I'm like, not the Nick Frost
because
part
his
that I have a
name's Nick
problem
Frost, I guess. That's kind of funny because he's playing Santa Claus and Nick Frost.
No, just that naturally Santa Claus would be an actual human character in this.
Oh, well, yeah, that would be a spoiler to explain why Santa Claus is showing up in the episode. Also watched Die Hard, which is now becoming a yearly Christmas tradition for us.
Yeah, dude. You listen to
Hard.
Run DMC, Christmas in Hollis. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we can see the Nakatomi building from our house.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I am constantly campaigning for them to do some sort of Christmas explosion.
Wouldn't it be great if instead of freaking fireworks, they did a giant gasoline explosion on the top of Nakatomi Plaza?
Like, like a fake John McClane swings off the roof.
Everyone tunes in their radios.
Right there.
All right.
It was actually pretty awesome. Eileen's family was here, and they all gathered around, just like we did for the interview. We all gathered around to watch Die Hard on Christmas Day. And then I watched Marco Polo episode 3, which I know you did. We'll talk about that in spoiler time.
Yep.
Keeping Up on the Shield. And I watched the first episode of Peaky Blinders, and it had what was the HBO show that Buscemi is in?
The Boardwalk Empire.
It had the Boardwalk
had
Empire
a Prohibition
feel for me,
era vibe to it, right?
which isn't bad, but Boardwalk Empire, I stopped after a season, and I can tell Peaky Blinders is not one where I'm dying to go see episode 2 yet.
I mean, I'm going to keep plowing through it because I hear that it can hook you pretty good. But, it's a bit like if I'm going to continue to watch a coupon. I mean, I've sort of fizzled out on Twin Peaks, although, here and there I'll try to continue on. But it's like I'm going to spend enough people have told me that there's a lot of golden treasure waiting at the end of Marco Polo that it's like out of all the homework there is to do, Marco Polo is going to be at the front of the line.
Also, Eileen has been rewatching Orphan Black because she actually had some time off work. She hasn't been rewatching it. She's been watching it for the first time.
So what's it been like to watch it through her eyes?
What's that?
What's it been like to watch it through her eyes for the first time?
Interesting. It's uncomfortable because she's like, really, can I look through my own eyes? That's no, she's enjoying it. She laughs at the parts that I think are funny. She gasps at the part that I would think she would gasp at. So she's having the same experience that I had, and she's asking the right questions when we talk about it.
That's
and
awesome.
You can tell she really likes it because we were having lunch today, and we're just sitting there. We were talking about other things, and then she goes, "So, do you think Felix could end up being revealed as a monitor?" And I'm like, that's all like buzzing around in your head there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Let's see what else. Real quick, I want to give a huge shout out to Bryce, who's switching this episode right now for us live. Neshcom, he was hanging out on like Thursday night. It was like, hey, bro, you ever seen The Prophet? And I was like, rolling my eyes, like, what's this thing? He's like, it's on CNBC. It's a reality show. And then I was like, bleh? And I ended up watching an episode or two with him. And it's very much a reality show. And by the way, I had this awesome moment where I told Bonnie, hey, you need to watch this. I'm not really a reality show kind of guy. And she goes, really? You only host a reality show. And I was like, okay, granted. And so, but each episode
I'm not a reality show kind of guy, but I play one on TV.
Yes, exactly. And so, but The Prophet is very much a reality show, and you could tell there's a lot of similar tropes as far as like the emotional feels part of things. But it's about a dude who comes in to failing businesses, often family-run businesses, and there's obviously emotional baggage and people are fighting or whatever. Then he writes a fat check for like almost $1 million and says, I now own 51% of this business, and you have to do what I say. And then he gives good advice to get things going forward. It is super, like, maybe, obviously over the last couple of years, we launched scamstuff.com. So part of it resonates with me because it's kind of the game I'm trying to play right now of running a small business. But it was I love it. I love it. I'm watching all of them. I actually I don't know if I told you this, Bryce. I full on teared up and cried at one of the stories. Don't smirk at me. But anyway, I loved it. I'm really enjoying it. It's The Prophet. It's on Hulu. Profit, not Phet.
Right, but it's a play on that, so don't
Yes.
be confused.
Exactly.
And you watched a little bit of Doctor Who?
Yeah, I watched. There was an all-day marathon happening on BBC America, and it was my first time watching any of the episodes with the new Doctor. And I guess it looks like all of them seem to be locked room mysteries. Is that right? Is that like a theme they're doing this year?
Not all. No, I mean there were a couple. There were two or three
there,
this year.
there was a missing person locked room mystery. There was also why is the invisible ghost killing people for different reasons locked room mystery on the Orient Express in space because of course.
I think you saw all of them then, and
Oh.
that is a lot. I mean, having more than one is unusual, but it was
So
They do like Stephen Moffat. Mr. Sherlock does like a locked room mystery now, doesn't he?
Well, boy, he does. And yeah, there's a weird, interesting energy. By the way, did they ever resolve why Clara's like 8 people?
Yeah, no, you have to watch Matt Smith's last season.
I'm not going to do that. You'll tell me in spoiler in time. How about that? Just
Okay.
explain it to me later.
Fine. Okay, I'll do my best.
Okay, right on.
Kind of almost have to watch the entire episode.
No, God damn it, I knew it.
That's the kind of thing where the entire episode is the explanation.
All
But
right,
I'll give it a shot.
Fair enough. Yeah, and by the way,
let's move on to the
JC
winter movie draft.
wait, real quick. JC Calhoun in the chat says that watching it on BBC America is terrible. I agree. It is dumb to watch the arbitrary way that they carve out the episodes to make gaps for American television commercial breaks. It's bad, and I don't like it.
I said winter movie draft.
Okay, sorry. And here we go.
Because we've got a Christmas miracle underway. Scott Johnson, in the current document, still has Selma, although Scott has said before the interview was released, but
Yep.
after they had announced it was going to be released, said, I would like to have the interview back. So even if we don't give him the 15 million online and just give him the 2.8 million theaters, he's still ahead.
It looks like he's full on, well-deservedly going to win the hell out of this movie draft. And he deserves it, man. And it's like, yes, I do think he should keep the interview. This has been an extraordinary story with the interview, but even if that wasn't a factor on it, the fact is what I thought at the time, overpaid for Interstellar and for Big Hero 6. Those ended up being a huge payoff. Keep in mind, out of everybody in the draft, he spent the least amount of money. He spent $90 in the draft, and it looks like he's going to run away with it. Well played, Scott Johnson. I couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, he could have bought the wedding ringer. Brett paid $10 for it, right? He couldn't have outbid him, right? But it's this that's how much money he had in the bank. Actually, he could have bought Unbroken too, which was only $8.
No, look, he earned it. He deserves it. Good on him. Well
no,
done.
absolutely. You could still catch him theoretically because The Hobbit isn't done yet.
I don't even want to.
Christmas.
I don't even want to. For the record, I want to cede victory to Scott Johnson for his wisdom in getting. He was 3 for 3. All
That's
three
not
of his
how the
picks
game
were.
is played, Brian.
Sorry. All right. I can't just pledge fealty to
We
Lord
play
Scott
by the
of
numbers,
Johnson.
Brian.
All right, fine.
The game is played on the field. You give 110%. You train every day.
Not me. I give up easily. Hey
All right,
man,
let's
shall
move
we
to the
check in on
dispatches. They are
dispatches from the front? Yes, I agree. That thing you said.
Dear Brian,
Yes.
I already told you. eBay your jailbroken first-gen Apple TV. You will get enough money to buy at least 2 current-gen Apple TVs in return. Look on eBay and see for yourself. Get it done. And stop bashing the Apple TV.
Here's the
Love,
funny part,
David.
David. Thank you, by the way, for sending that. But for the record, David, if I were to do what you said, that money would go immediately to buying more Amazon Fire TVs. I love my Fire TV, man.
Hey, do you want my Fire TV? My box? Fire TV
Wait,
box?
do you have a box you're not using?
Yeah, well, I bought the stick and the box. I like the stick better, frankly.
Please do, because the stick is good. My only complaint about the stick is that I assume because it's small and there's a lot of interference, the Wi-Fi signal goes out from time to time. If you want to send me your box, I'll totally use it.
All right. And yes, I know there's a lot of you out there like, wait, send it to me first. But this was bought by Cordkillers, so Brian really justifiably
guess what, bro?
so should get first crack at it.
Dibs. You come to my house and have my old stick. Hey, man, Randy writes us, says, I'm now saving $136 a month. I cut the cable TV and phone, just kept the internet. Went from $170 down to $51. I spent around $200 to install a DB8E antenna on the roof with a 4-way distribution amp. I live about 40 miles from New Orleans and Mississippi Gulf Coast, so I have one antenna pointed to New Orleans and the other to the Gulf Coast. I get all the channels from both markets, a total of 41 channels. I have a Roku stick on each of the 4 TVs with the antenna and Rokus with Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix. I'm set. Congratulations, Randy. Well done.
Yeah, good job, Randy. That's the thing. People are like, over the air doesn't work for me, and that totally ruins this beautiful Randy scenario that he described. But when it does, like it does for him, it really does a compelling job. Like, we were watching over-the-air broadcast of NBA TV, watching NBA basketball with Eileen's dad. He didn't even know we didn't have the cable on, right? Because it's a perfectly fine picture. So if you're in the right place, it can work.
That's awesome.
Also, one of our bosses, Rodrigo, wanted to point out that Vanity Fair confirmed that the ending of the Legend of Korra series was intended to be as you interpreted it, Brian.
Yeah, this is a little bit spoilery, so plug your ears if you're worried about that. But we talked in Spoiler in Time about how the ending appeared to be kind of an explicit acknowledgement of a same-sex relationship with the primary character on a children's show, which is curious. It's extraordinary in that regard. And they did say that. It's weird because, like, how wonderful is it that we're in a world where it's like, okay, so what? What's for lunch? It's like, I don't know. I think that's pretty rad.
Yeah. Well, that going back to Orphan Black, the one thing that I've noticed more when you're asking, I've been still thinking about your question about like seeing it through Eileen's eyes. One of the things I've noticed more is how they trip so many cliches over. I'm sorry, trip over is a stupid way of putting it. They turn them on their head is what I think I'm trying to say.
Sure.
So like all the strong characters are female. They have like a really sexy gay scene between two guys that gets busted up by the police and they look embarrassed. The hunky guy is kind of dumb and kind of used only for his muscle and very exploited.
Right.
Like they've turned so many of these tropes around. The suburban husband is the airhead who doesn't really know what's going on. Like it's kind of cool to see all that stuff turned on its head. And I didn't really even notice it till that second time through.
Right on. Hey, we got an email from Jimmy. Do you want to talk about this Brilliant TV thing? He says that I want to let you know about this device he came across the other day. It's called Brilliant TV. It's from a small startup company near West Palm Beach, Florida, where I live. From what I could tell, it seems to be close to what the old Boxy Box used to offer. It's a small set-top box that runs a version of Android and is an aggregate of all online content that is available for free. I gotta feel like there's a bit of a wink and a nod towards pirated content there, to include TV shows, movies, sporting events, and foreign television as well, which to me, this thing smells pirate as hell. It's $600. Did you take a look at this, Tom?
Yeah, don't pay $600 for an Android box that only has 2 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM and a 16 gig flash drive inside. You can get a much better, even Windows-based, if not Linux-based, full-on computer and just put Plex on it. And it will do all of the same things better.
And probably be legally licensed, right? I mean, Plex isn't
Plex doesn't do anything itself that's illegal. So, yeah, you'd be safe from the ground up. When you look at the base content description on the Brilliant TV, it's got things like Canada On Demand, the DIY Network, HowStuffWorks.com. Like, these are just things you can get on your own. And all it is an underpowered Android box which is what the Fire TV is, right? It's what the Roku is essentially, even though it's not Android based. There's lots of Android boxes that you can get out there that run Android, because anybody could put Android on a box, that are a lot cheaper than this too. So I don't feel like this is your best bargain.
So Tom, looking at this, despite their claims, you would say this is sub-brilliant.
Yes, I wouldn't even give it that appellation.
All right, fine.
Thank you very much.
One more last thing. This is spoiler talk. I apologize, so plug your ears if you're a fan of The Walking Dead. From William, he says, on the last spoiler in time, I listened to you mention that you stopped reading The Walking Dead comics before the Eugene reveal, and I realized that you did the exact same thing as me. I read the comic up to the point where Abraham's crew appeared and stopped. I watched the show until the disappointment that was the governor and stopped. My roommates continued to watch the show. He would catch it out of the corner of his eye, and then he would say, then all of a sudden the show started to get ahead of the comic. He says, I don't want the comic to ruin the comic, or I'm sorry, the show to ruin the comic for me. And he started reading the comic again. He read about 100 issues that he needed to catch up. He said it was the best decision he's made in a long time. The most recently completed story arc literally shook the core of my humanity. Maybe not so much, but it was really good. So I suggest that you continue the comic, TLDR, continue the Walking Dead comics, which I really ought to do. I'm on a comic kick. I don't know if you heard, Tom, but I went back and read, in fact, I need to send back to Rob Krekel his trades for Lock and Key, which is maybe one of the best comic stories I've ever read in my entire life.
I have heard the same about Lock and Key from Scott Johnson and several others. I have read past issue 100 of The Walking Dead, and I entirely agree with William that the comic still far outstrips the television show because the story has gone farther, and it's really entertaining and amazing. So I highly recommend reading the comic.
Let me real quick,
even though that takes us well away from the main thrust of the show.
I mean, if we can go even farther away from the thrust, let me give a quick plug to a fascinating episode of the Cracked.com podcast where they talk about how the Walking Dead television show based on the comic book is weirdly openly hostile to the idea of society in general, where it praises sort of this loner bad boy cowboy going out, and anyone who tries to get together and form a society is automatically a pervert, a cannibal, a rapist, or a bad guy in some regard. Anyway, it's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, I feel like that brought us back closer to, because you're talking about the movie versus the comic again.
That's true.
Or not movie, but
touche. The TV show. It might as well be a movie.
Yeah. Well, that's it for Comic Killers. Thanks for joining us.
Comic Killers. I hate you, comics. Do me a favor. If you got something to say,
right in your brain.
If you got something to say, hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com. And of course, we record live every Monday at, I only know it is, I guess, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific?
Yep.
Look at that. See, I'm doing your job. I'm good.
Nicely done. We will be here 51 out of every 52 weeks. See you next year.
Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.